I want to declare an emergency. My pilot is unconscious. Please help me. While flying high above the clouds at 10,000 feet, the captain of the flight suddenly collapsed, leaving a lone male passenger in the cockpit with almost no flying experience.
We're almost there.
This man had now become an accidental pilot. He had never flown a large, complex aircraft like this before. An emergency was declared. Miami Center air traffic controllers immediately redirected all nearby aircraft to prevent any possible collisions. Then came a series of new problems. The autopilot malfunctioned. The plane was moving too fast, and the man began to lose his composure. Behind the cockpit, his wife and children were crying in panic. Could he possibly land the plane safely? April 12, 2009, Marco Island, Florida, USA. It was Easter Sunday in the Christian tradition. Doug White, along with his wife and 2 daughters, was returning home to Louisiana after attending his younger brother's funeral on Marco Island. For convenience, he had chartered a King Air 200, part of the Beechcraft King Air series, a line of twin turboprop aircraft produced continuously by Beech Aircraft Corporation since 1964. The King Air had earned wide popularity and impressive sales. It was the fastest propeller-driven airplane in the world and the only twin turboprop commercial aircraft still in production. The aircraft that day carried registration number N559DW and had been fully fueled and inspected for the over 3-hour journey. At the controls was Captain Joe Cabot, age 67, a retired Air Force colonel. A graduate of the Air Force Academy, he had flown F-100 fighters during the Korean and Vietnam Wars, later building more than 20 years of charter flight experience. After luggage and passengers were loaded, White's wife and daughters sat in the passenger cabin, while White joined the cockpit in the co-pilot seat. A little about this man. Doug White, age 56, owned a company called White Equipment Leasing. About 18 years earlier, he had taught himself to fly a small, single-engine Cessna 172. Shortly after earning his private pilot's license, with a total of 130 flight hours, he stopped pursuing the hobby. Only recently had his interest rekindled, and he decided to resume training on a Cessna. The King Air, however, was something entirely new. Larger, more powerful, and far more complex than the Cessna. White was overwhelmed by the cockpit, which looked more like the control room of a space shuttle. This flight, therefore, was a perfect opportunity to learn from the captain, and perhaps stepping into the cockpit would turn out to be the most important decision of his life. After receiving clearance from Marco, the plane climbed smoothly. Captain Joe completed the items on the standard checklist and engaged the autopilot along the ATC-assigned route. He set the autopilot to maintain a climb rate, but had not yet programmed the target altitude. The weather was pleasant, and the plane sliced gently through thin layers of cloud. Less than 10 minutes after takeoff, as the King Air passed 7,000 feet, Joe Cabot made his first call to Miami Center. No one knew these would be his last words. Miami, this is N559DW, passing through 8,000 feet. Good day, we're climbing to maintain flight level 14,000. Moments after ending the call, White heard nothing more from the captain. In seconds, the captain slumped over, eyes rolled back, making strained, choking sounds. White was stunned. Joe was unconscious. In panic, White immediately radioed Miami Center again. Miami, we have an emergency. Our pilot is unconscious. I need help. The plane was climbing at 1,500 feet per minute. White saw that 10,000 feet was set on the autopilot display. Yet even after reaching that height, the aircraft kept climbing. The pilot is unconscious. I think he's dead. I need to talk to someone who knows this plane and can help me land. Sir, please calm down. Who's flying the plane? It's just me. Controllers at first assumed he was the co-pilot. Are you a pilot? I'm not. I'm just a passenger. I've flown before, but never a plane like this. Please help me. The plane kept climbing. The captain said 10,000 feet, but I don't know why we're still going up. We're about to hit 13,000 feet. What should I do with the autopilot? ATC asked White to call his wife into the cockpit for assistance, while they contacted nearby flights to visually confirm the King Air's position. Can you confirm you're still climbing? Yes. We've passed 14,000 feet and still climbing. One option was to turn off the autopilot, but that meant White would have to hand fly the plane. If they kept climbing, they would hit the aircraft's ceiling and risk stalling. This was their only chance to save his family. In the cabin, panic spread. His older daughter cried. The younger vomited. Tension mounted. 4 minutes after his first distress call, an experienced King Air pilot finally came on the radio. White asked, "Can I set it to 15,000 feet to level off? What do I do now?" N559DW, stay calm. Do you know where the autopilot switch is? Yes. Then disengage it. After fumbling for a moment, White said, "Autopilot is off. I'm flying manually." "Okay, I see you at 17,000 feet. With things momentarily stabilized, White reassured his wife and told them to pray. The plane began descending at 2,000 feet per minute. To counter a climb-trimmed airplane, he had to push hard forward on the yoke, complicated further by the captain's slumped body partially blocking the controls. White said, "Find me the longest, widest runway in Miami." "You're doing fine. Try to hold 17,000 feet. How should I set the throttles?" "Pull them back slowly, very gently." Moments later, ATC advised, "Let's descend at 500 feet per minute, or 1,000 if you can." "I'm going down at 1,000. "Excellent, keep going. We're heading straight on a 350 course. Are you still descending steadily?" "We're at 16,000 feet. Descend to 11,000 feet. I'm transferring you to Fort Myers approach. They have controllers who are former pilots. They'll help you land." ATC had already planned for the King Air to land at Southwest Florida International Airport in Fort Myers. The airport had a 12,000-foot runway, once used as an alternate landing site for the space shuttle. It was a large facility with light traffic, an ideal choice for an emergency. To ease the tension, the controller asked White for more background. "Do you have any experience on a King Air?" "No, never." "That's fine. Can you manage the plane's heading easily?" "I'll try." N5559DW, turn left, heading 270. Make all control movements very gently. The controls are sensitive. And here's some good news. Weather at the airport is perfect. Nothing to worry about. At this point, White's wife entered the cockpit. He asked her to pull the captain's body out of the seat to clear the controls. But the captain weighed nearly 220 pounds, and in the cramped cockpit, she couldn't move him. In the end, she had to sit in the captain's seat and hold his body steady. The King Air began a left turn toward the airport, cruising at over 250 km/h. ATC called back, N559DW. Switch your radio to 132.0 MHz to contact the tower. I'll try. There are so many switches here, 4 different radios, and I don't know which one to adjust. ATC replied, "I see you're near 11,000 feet. Stay calm. If your descent is too steep, add power. Can you set 11,000 feet on the autopilot and turn it back on?" White hesitated. He had little experience, and one wrong move could be disastrous. ATC reassured him, "Only if you feel safe doing so." White tried re-engaging the autopilot, but the plane immediately veered north. It turned out the captain had earlier programmed the destination as Jackson Airport in Mississippi. ATC N5559DW. There's something wrong with the system. I can't set the autopilot for you. 559. It's best you keep flying manually. The autopilot is for trained pilots. It's complicated. The autopilot plan was abandoned. After some fumbling, White successfully tuned the correct radio frequency and switched over to Fort Myers ATC. At Fort Myers, Controller Brian Norton was just about to end his shift when his supervisor called him back. At the same time, another controller, Dan Favio, had just heard about the unfolding situation and immediately joined in to help. "Hello, N559DW. I'll be assisting you," Norton said. White responded, "I need help right now." Favio quickly contacted a friend, Kerry Sorensen, in Danbury, Connecticut. Sorensen was a pilot and flight instructor with thousands of hours of experience flying the King Air 200. Sorensen grabbed the aircraft manual and began dictating to Favio the exact steps to set up the aircraft's speed, flaps, and trim for landing. Favio relayed the details to Norton, who then passed them directly to White over the radio. "N559DW, descend to 5,000 feet. I'm descending," White replied. "We'll vector you to the airport. Are you a licensed pilot?" "No. I'm just a passenger. My wife and kids are on board." "When you reach 5,000 feet, report back. We'll have you turn left heading 180 to line up for the airport," White reported. "I need to slow my descent. I'm dropping at 2,500 feet per minute." "Roger that. You can ease up on your descent rate." 559. It would be best to set 5,000 feet on your autopilot. The mention of the autopilot again unsettled White. "We've tried, but we can't reset it from the start," he said. "That's okay. Stay calm." "Can you troubleshoot it?" "No, I don't know how." "All right, no problem. I'll consult with the pilot here." The aircraft's speed was still near 250 mph, too fast for approach. The controllers instructed White to slow to about 172 mph. As he neared 5,000 feet, the speed had dropped to 168 mph. ATC. Report when you can turn left heading 180. Just fly it like you would a single-engine airplane. On the ground, preparations were complete for landing on runway 6. White asked, "Can I lower the landing gear and deploy the flaps?" "Hold off for a moment. Things are moving quickly. You're still 25 miles from the airport." A minute later, the speed stabilized. White located the landing gear lever, and ATC cleared him to lower the gear and extend the flaps. Both actions increased drag, helping him control speed more easily. However, White wasn't sure what flap setting to use. ATC. Continue down from 5,000 feet to 3,000 feet. Don't worry, just fly it like a single-engine airplane. The calm encouragement boosted White's confidence. The aircraft was now on heading 070, with ground controllers making small heading adjustments to give him more time to prepare for the landing. When you reach 3,000 feet, pull back the power gradually. Don't cut it too quickly. 30 minutes had passed, and White had nearly mastered control of the airplane. But the greatest challenge still lay ahead: landing. To land manually, he would have to slow the aircraft, line it up precisely with the runway, and manage the enormous pressure of knowing his wife and daughters were seated just behind him. Fortunately, the weather at the airport was ideal. Light winds, no gusts, no crosswinds. ATC 559. You're 18 miles from the airport. Runway 6 is 12,000 feet long, and everything is ready for you. White replied, "I can see the runway now. I'm at 2,000 feet. ATC. Begin reducing power gradually." The aircraft descended through 2,300 feet, then 1,800 feet. Speed was a 138 topped, with only 6 miles left to the runway. ATC 559. The runway is yours. White kept his final approach speed at 138 mph, adjusting the throttles only slightly to maintain it. Too much power, or cutting it too sharply, could push the aircraft beyond safe limits. A few miles out, the winds were almost calm. White asked for the final approach speed. Fabio relayed the question to Sorensen, and the answer came back instantly. Norton guided White through lining up with the approach path, setting the final flap configuration, and lowering the landing gear at the right speed and altitude. The last stage of flaps came down. The approach speed of a twin-engine turboprop was much faster than that of a single-engine plane, making White's nerves spike. But thinking about his wife and children gave him the confidence to keep going. The automated voice called out, 500 feet above the ground. White ignored the barrage of alerts and kept his focus locked on the landing. Finally, in near-perfect conditions, Doug White touched down smoothly and safely. "Oh God, we did it! Thank you, Lord." Emergency vehicles raced to the runway, surrounding the King Air. White admitted he didn't know how to shut down the engines. So ATC talked him through cutting off the fuel supply. His wife and daughters were shaken by the nearly hour-long ordeal, but incredibly, no one was injured. Medical teams worked desperately to revive Captain Joe Kabuk, but sadly, he did not survive. The initial cause was suspected to be a heart attack. From that day forward, Doug White became known as a hero. The story of a passenger who turned into a pilot, saving his entire family and landing safely, spread rapidly across the country and beyond. It even inspired a movie titled On a Wing and a Prayer, based directly on this historic flight. White later shared that he planned to complete his Instrument Flight Rules (IFR) training within a few weeks, then gain more experience flying a Beechcraft Bonanza, a complex single-engine aircraft, before transitioning to twin-engine piston planes. He also expressed deep respect for Captain Joe Kabuk, who lost his life during the incident, calling him a role model to follow. At the same time, White was profoundly grateful for the dedicated support of the air traffic controllers. "If it hadn't been for their help, I don't think I could have made such a perfect landing." Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next one.